YouTube, as promised, it's bass week. Well, I'm doing every second video bass for a while, just so I don't scare everyone off. Yeah, so I borrowed this off my pal. This is a Squier P-Bass Mini, which is very small. There's a P-Bass. It's handy to tap to be lying out. So P-Bass Mini. There is a bit. Look how gold this is looking, and how not any white because it's got white on it. Yeah, so it's a good bit smaller. So a normal P-Bass is 34-inch scale. This is shorter. This is a 28.5-inch scale. That's very short for a bass. Obviously, it's coming in for direct comparisons with my wee red bass, which is no longer red, but this one, which actually looks fat and ungainly when you put it next to this, doesn't it? Yeah, so this is a 30-inch, so it's actually an inch and a half more scale on it. But pal loves this. He played bass in a band for years, like expensive basses, and he doesn't play in a band anymore, but he's got like a bass for in the house when his pals are over, and he just uses this, and it's like, really? So it's got a really small neck on it. It's really thin. You can get my hand right over it. Yeah, I can play. Yeah, so it's tiny. I don't have any way of measuring the strings on it, but they don't seem particularly fat. So just does it work? I think when you look at these, it's the same with the mini guitars. The pickup looks huge because the pickup's normal size. Everything else is just smaller. So Rosewood Fingerboard just got a date on it. ICSL 21. It could be 2021. It might only be a couple of years old. I think he said he just bought it new. Didn't say it was expensive. 120 quid or something. Not a lot for a bass. I am used to playing shorter scale basses though. I've got an EBO there and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of gentleness required on the low E. Otherwise it farts. So you just be a bit more careful with it. You can't hit it. You can't be as brutal as you are with a full scale bass, but I'm kind of used to it. I play Sabbath on a short scale bass. It's alright. I don't know if these tuners are original, but I really like the bits on the top. I really like these tuners. They've got kind of cool, not those big, the big elephant eerie ones. Basically, just the normal. Obviously these ones are shawlers and very expensive, but the sort of normal tuners have got like these big flat elephant ear bits on it, which are not brilliant. It's just the way it was designed in 1952 or whatever it was at Fender, and they never bothered changing it. Whereas these ones I like a bit better, a little bit more fancy. So bog standard four saddle, super simple bridge, just top loaded, volume and a tone, P-bass pickup, not much to it. 15, 17, 19, 21 frets. So I mean everything's there. You used to be a little bit careful with that E. I had a guitar very similar to this in fact it's probably exactly the same one. It was lime green and it was a Jackson, my pal's nephew or something had, and I remember shooting it against the red bass when it was still red, and it was just this, I think, apart from a pointy headstock. I don't think it had a scratch plate, but Jackson are made by Fender anyway, so it's pretty much exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's totally playable. And the thing about a short scale bass, it tends to be good for the sort of Beatlesy. say if you thump it there, you get to overdrive. So I suppose the question is this better than a Bronco bass? In some ways it is. I prefer this pickup. The Bronco bass has just got a single coil pickup, so it's not as a P-bass pickup is. It's also slightly longer. It's a 30-inch scale, not the 28.5. It's not like that much difference. It doesn't actually make as much difference as I thought. I was kind of expecting it not to work, to be honest, or not to not work, but to be a bit more adjusting to playing it. I don't have any problem with it at all. Drums on. What the hell kind of rhythm is that? I would say that I suppose the downside of the super short scale is, well, if you learnt to play on this, you'd be able to play on a full size P bass, no bother at all. If you did it the other way around, this one I think you would struggle. That's just not because of this model. Okay, that's thousands of pounds worth, and this isn't. That's not the point. The point is, it's just the shorter scale. You have to be more accurate, and you can't, with how hard you hit the strings and where you do it, just because there's less room for manoeuvrability. That's why I said I refuse to buy those. I went through. There's a couple of Buckycasters that are the really short wee guitars, the sort of kiddies ones, one with a built-in speaker. You can make them work, but it's a hell of a lot of work because everything's smaller. So the adjustments have to be within a certain percentage, but that kind of on something like a bass, if the action's a bit high, it doesn't really matter. If the pickup's not quite the right place, it doesn't really matter because it's such a big amount of room. You've got like tons of leeway with all these things, whereas the smaller it gets, especially with guitars, it's much harder to make like a 20-inch scale guitar play in tune than it is to make any 25-inch, any normal scale guitar play, because everything's just got, the nuts got to be absolutely perfect. Normally, if you're within like, I don't know, you get a millimetre play, something like that in a guitar nut, whereas if you're a millimetre high, you've got like a point where it's fine within a millimetre, whereas on a short scale it's like less than that, it's like half a millimetre you've got to play with. But I mean, I can totally see this being the most fantastic thing for wee jams. Also, I'd imagine it's fitting in a guitar case, so it's smaller. If you're a small person, a kid, yep. Or if you just play the guitar and you find bass is a bit big, then it's totally there. I mean, see if you're doing like recording at home, like in your 4-track, people don't use 4-tracks anymore, in your DAW or whatever. Yeah, totally put bass lines in with this and no bother at all. There's probably an element of you can reach further. I probably can't do that on a normal bass. But I don't really ever try and do ridiculous bends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So it's 2 whole notes. yeah, I'd be tempted if I had one of these to play it a little bit more, to learn to do some stupid stuff, Billy Sheehan type stuff on it. So I mean, I'm going to move on to the wee red bass just because it's one of my favourite basses, and it's such a similar thing. I mean, it does. It's basically it's a small P bass. It weighs twice as much, but then again, I put the most expensive tuners on it, and the most expensive bridge. It's got a Washburn pickup, but so it should sound hell a lot better. But I see immediately it's completely different. This has, although it's only 30-inch scale, the actual dimensions of this are like a full-size bass. So this doesn't have I bet you it's not that much. I bet you it's not as thin as it feels. I bet you it's like maybe millimeters. Yeah. So this is coming in at, oh god, it's quite small. 36 mil at the nut. Was this will be 42, wasn't it? That's not normal, isn't it? 40, so it's only 4 mil, but it really feels very different. This is like a chunky boy. There's no sound coming out it. Strings on it aren't as good either. Maybe I didn't buy strings for this. This was strings from various piles. Oh, maybe I did. Maybe they are new strings actually. But they're the cheap ones. This sounds more like a more rubber bandy, doesn't it? I think I might buy good strings for this at some point, or do I just leave the ones on it? Because this is my party bass. There's less adjustment involved in playing this. Just like having an extra 1.5 inch scale makes this string a little bit more forgiving. Still not as forgiving. Don't know it's at 32. I've got a couple of 32. That area behind me is a 32-inch scale. It's barely an issue in a 32-inch. 34-inch, it's not an issue. 32-inch, it's kind of, it's a wee, when you get to 30, it's like a little bit, okay, I'll treat this a bit differently. And then when you go to that, it's just, okay, I'll treat it a little bit more differently. Like that. And on a P bass, you can just thump that as hard as you want. But this one's been upgraded to bits. The pickup in it wasn't bad. It just wasn't that good. And I just happened to have this Washburn one, which made it sound like all my other basses because it's the same pickup as in all of these pretty much. These tuners are not staying on it. These are Westone Spectrum tuners, Gotoh ones, and the bridge is actually it's a Yamaha bridge, but I've got another bridge. I've got a Washburn bridge, like a through string thing, which I might put on this, and I'm not sure I like the black hardware, to be honest. I think I prefer silver, chrome. Maybe it's just because this guitar is like a camouflage super mess, so you can't actually see any of the bits on it. You know, there's two knobs there. And I just think maybe. But if you're looking for a bass, I would totally recommend that if you can find one. I don't know. This is one of the made in India ones, and they tend to be actually the ones I have seen for sale, apart from this one, which I paid a tenner for, have been like 120 quid for some reason, which is how much one of them costs new. So if I had the choice of one of these 30 years old or one of them brand new, I'd take one of them brand new because it's got better tuners on it and it's a better built. This one is a bit special. I love the fact it's got the full size neck on it, which makes it not feel small. Actually, my Black Sabbath bass, the one I've been using, the Tartan one, is a Fernandez 32-inch scale, but its kind of dimensions are more similar to the wee bass there. kind of, it's like a guitar neck that's on it. In fact, I think that's pretty much, it's a guitar neck, but they put frets in the places where the basses are, so it feels really, really good, but really weird. And I think it would probably suit someone who just plays the guitar and never plays the bass an awful lot better than this or a full-size bass would. Probably an element of that would be mini squier as well. It's like, I've never, I mean, I know that was the point with the Bronco and the Music Man was like, oh, it's a bass player for guitarists. I've always played both. Well, apart from for the first 6 months when I only played guitar, I've played bass since then. So I'm just used to playing bass. A bass does not seem alien to me. It's very comfortable. Even when it's like, oh, this one's got a thin neck. Oh, this one's got a fat neck. Oh, this one's got a long neck. Yeah, it's not a pure, oh god, this is weird. This is different. I can't handle it. So I'm just totally used to it. But I do sort of get how some people feel that way. I mean, I have tried to play a mandolin before, and it's like, these stupid wee fucking holding down 6 strings with one finger. This is a nightmare. Which I think is probably what a lot of why, if there are any guitarists out there who don't play the bass, I get it. I understand that it's like, oh my god, the strings are so fat. You have to hold them down. They're a different distance apart. All these things. I sort of get that, but get over it and just get yourself a wee bass and Squier Mini. Definitely worth it. I would suggest getting a proper amp with it though. Well, you don't need a 151 watt 15-inch speakered Marshall, but a proper bass amp rather than a guitar amp will really sing that through. There's actually a bass amp I'm going to go and look at just now. It's only a tenner. It's a Stag BA20. I think it says guitar amp, but I'm looking at it. You zoom in on a crappy picture it's got, and it's like got a compressor on it, no overdrive channel. That's a bass amp. It's in Bishop Briggs. I assume it's the woman selling it. I think I don't have a power supply, so sold as seen. It's like I'm thinking of taking a power supply over and going, okay, if I bring this and the power supply and see if it works, because then if I can get a wee bass amp for a tenner, that's a super handy thing to have lying about, like a portable one. I did buy the wee Roland Cube, which is kicking about. That's a fantastic little thing. I've never even tried it in batteries. I hope it works on batteries. It takes batteries, but I've never tried putting them in it. That's a fantastic wee thing. Just like four wee tiny speakers. It's just like, it just gets some woomph, and it's just like the bass amp thing. But the wee Stag bass amp, which I've had one before, that was my bass amp for the house for ages, because I just had that big stupid Marshall thing. It's 400 watt, and you can't play through a 400 watt amp in the house. It's just like, you're sitting there with the volume control. It's got a big volume control. You're sitting there like that. You're off. It's starting to engage too loud. So you're sitting there with it, it's like totally breathe on it, and it's like, whoa, suddenly you're up at light bulb rattling and stuff like that. I'm also going to go and look at a muff. Now, someone's selling a big muff on Facebook Marketplace, 20 quid. And it's a proper big muff. Well, it's not. It's electro-harmonics in it. It's that sized one. So it's a big muff is a big thing, which is it's cool. I always kind of wanted one. It's the one that's just that size. I think I don't think it's called a mini. It might be a mini or a micro or something like that. But it's just got the 3 knobs and off on it like a proper one, but in a slightly smaller enclosure. I quite fancy one of them, just because I feel it's one of the classics, and I'm mad into the Rat. I pure love the Rat pedal. So the big muff. I did buy a big muff. I bought a micro metal muff, but I don't think it's the same. It's really aggressive, and I don't even know what kind of metal it's for. I couldn't really find it that usable. It's got a switch in the middle. If you've got it in the middle, it's kind of usable. If you put it up, the high end, it's got like a top boost or something like that it's called, and it's just pure like nails in the side of your head. It's like, pure god, right, turn that to the middle. What happens if you put on the low bay, the low boost, you put that on, it's just like nails at the bottom. It's just pure. There's a point where things get too aggressive. It's not really the kind of music I play. I think I want a big muff, as it muffles the sound. I bet you'll hate it, but I think I might buy it. And I was also, annoyingly, the guy I was talk about that pedal, taking the Mel 9 back round to him and his wee bass. He's like, I've got a big muff I never use. And it's like, pure. So I said, I'll pop over later on because I think I'm going to go and buy a big muff. I've got one you never use. It's one of the big ones. It's a germanium one, the big sort of double pedal thing. and it's got about 10 knobs on it. This is the one that I had. I've done a demo of it before because somebody gave it to me and goes, oh, this isn't working. You turn this knob, and it was the voltage knob. So basically this voltage knob is, if it's at full, the pedal's working. When you turn it down, it's like turning down the amount of volts that are coming out the battery to get that desired battery dying sound. So basically once you start putting that down to sort of 3/4, it starts to sound like it's dying, and once you've got it at half, it's kind of like broken amp sound. But that's what the knob does. That's what happens when you starve, you know, a distortion pedal of power. It kind of doesn't work properly, and it clips, and it kind of burbles and splutters. That's what the knob's meant to do. So, but he's got one of them, and it's like, I don't know if I don't know. I like the idea of just having the original one. You know, the simple, just give me the volume gain and a tone in the middle, and see if I can get in and out it, rather than buying a, you know, the germanium big muff. It's like, it's not really quite as, I don't know. That might be in my head. There might be a shootout. I might get a shot at the germanium one. He didn't actually say anything about swapping it or selling it. He's like, I never use it. You want a shot of it? Like, well, I was thinking of swapping it for that trio pedal, but I don't think I really want it, to be honest. I think it's probably worth more money. It must be. It's probably worth more than the bog standard oldie fashionedy one, which I just kind of feel I want just for, because I should have had one. Really, it's also really, really, really dirty looking, which is, that suits me also. Rock on, and I shall see you. Oh, today is Friday. Tomorrow I've done a video on the Mellotron pedal, comparing it to the MIDI guitar for triggering stuff, and the MIDI guitar lasts 5 minutes in the video and the batteries are flat, which is fair enough because I've never changed the batteries in that since I got it working. That's been a few years, so I'm going to swap the batteries over and I'll do another proper MIDI demonstration at some point. I gigged this bass. And if I gig this, you can gig that. Playing the Sabbath stuff on it, and it's just, I think it's maybe just because it's so, because it's a wee bit weird, you're kind of all over it. It's up here, yeah, I can totally nail this. Up here, it's great, you know what I mean? It's really friendly feeling. Same with that wee thing. It's like, yeah, this is a wee silly thing. Woo, boom, bap, boom, bap, it's dead. I don't know. There's definitely something in short basses. No, I mean, look at Gibson EBO's short scale, isn't it? It's always been short scale. It's got a use, I think. There's part of it. Although Leo did invent the electric bass guitar, because he invented it. It's called a precision bass because it's got frets in it. Whoa, a bass with frets. So there you go, hence why precision bass. But it was him that invented the 34-inch scale, the thickness of the strings, the fact it's got frets and all that, to replace, you know, the upright bass. But I think in many ways the shorter scale actually sound more like an upright bass. They're a bit more boomy and a bit more muffled and elastic bandy sounding than the full scale, which kind of works with the EBO. I would say the EBO does sound more like an upright bass than a P bass does. Physics. This is really dirty, is it? Is that just a texture paint? It's texture paint. It's a very early JPEGs. Yeah, so I've taken this to download the last 2 years. Last year it was painted, and it's like, in fact, I think I need to remember to. There's a photo when a girl over there with took of me. I think it was a pretty good picture with a Buckfast jumper playing this. I think it's before I put the expensive parts on it. So I mean, it's really one of those things. I was like, yeah, what are you taking to? Taking it, for camping and stuff like that. This is exactly the same thing I was talking about with that transatlantic Telecaster thing. Totally, this cost me £10, and it's got some bits I had lying about on it. Fucking great, brilliant. It's JPEG's number 3. Not worth a tenner now. Worth 500 quid. So you're taking a 500 quid bass, and it's like, yeah, this is worth £500 as it sits just now. £400-500. That makes it the most expensive bass in the room. This is, you know, and it's like, would I take any of these to download to play at the campsite? No way. Like, imagine turning up That's when it comes out ridiculous. It's more expensive. Listen, I would get more for this than I paid for the 1968 Gibson EBO or a fucking a through neck Hawk or an 8-string Washburn from all of them. Even so, yeah, madness. So it's my only justification for keeping it is that I can use it for taking to parties and stuff like that. And it's like, why else do I need another bass? And it's like, the sensible money would be to buy. The thing is, if I bought another one, I'd want to take it camping, because I mean, these things look so much better in daylight than they do in. In fact, where's my daylight bulb? I'll put it on. You never get to see them. I know it's. All of the J-Paxes are pure neon coloured, pretty much, and they don't. Seeing them in this video, you're not getting anything like the effect of what they're actually like in person. They really are something else. I used to have exactly the same problem with the Buckycasters. Every time I sold, pretty much every single Buckycaster I sold, people would come around and be like, "Here, it is here," and they'd be like, "Whoa!" It's like, because when you see it in person, it's like they've obviously seen the pictures, they bought the advert, they've seen me doing a video on it. Not the same as actually seeing it in real life. It's just, there's so much to look at in these things, and there's nothing to look at in the Buckycaster. Yeah, I'm going to piss off. I don't really pissing off the rest. Oh no, the drummer or the bass player, the guitar players. Like when I'm playing an encore, he's like, well, he's the one that described it when first time I took it in at the studio. I took it in for a laugh because I just bought it for a tenner. I was like, I bought the bass for a tenner. And he's like, that's the sort of bass that you're round at someone's house and they say, I'm going to put this bass in the bin, do you want it? And you just can't be arsed carrying it home, so you leave it. Not the same as me. What, you want this bass? Yes, I'll carry it. I don't care if it's 2 miles home.